Hey everyone, today we are continuing on with vertical angles, but now we are going to be solving for missing vertical angles algebraically, just like we did with complementary and supplementary angles. So just remember, vertical angles are angles formed from intersecting lines, and they are across from each other. They are across from each other on those intersecting lines, and most importantly, vertical angles are equal to each other. Okay, so we're going to do a bunch of examples together, and then you guys will do some on your own. All right, so example one, I have a pair of vertical angles. This angle that's labeled 4x plus 5, and this angle that is equal to 13 degrees. I know that these are vertical angles because they're formed by two intersecting lines and they are across from each other. So I first got to figure out what x is equal to. So I got to create an algebraic equation. So how we set this up here is we put the one angle on one side of the equal sign and the other angle on the other side of the equal sign because they're equal to each other. So I always like to put the angle that has the variable first. So the first angle that I'm going to put here is 4x plus 5. Okay, that's my first angle. Now I know this angle has to be equal to 13 degrees, which is why I write angle 2 on the other side of my equal sign. So I'm going to write the 13 over here. Okay, now this is a basic two-step equation that I need to solve. As always, guys, I put the steps for you off to the side, so please read them as you go along. So our second step is to subtract the constant from both sides. So I am subtracting 5 on both sides of this equation. Okay, I bring down the 4x. The 5s are going to cancel each other out. And I come over here and I have to subtract 13 minus 5, which is 8. Okay, now I'm up to my last step, which is to divide both sides by the number in front of the variable. Well, the number in front of the variable is 4, so I am dividing both sides of my equation by 4. 4x divided by 4 is x, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So we solved our equation. We know x is equal to 2. But I don't know what this angle is equal to. I have to take that value of x and plug it in to the angle measure 4x plus 5. So instead of writing that variable x, I'm now going to plug in the value of x, which we just determined was 2. And then I'm going to simplify this. Remember, we have to follow our order of operations here. So I first have to multiply 4 times 2, which is 8. And then I have to add 8 plus 5, which is 13. So the measure of that missing angle is 13 degrees. And you guys can check yourself. You know vertical angles have to be equal to each other. Well, I just figured out this angle to be equal to 13. Well, I know I must be correct because its vertical angle was also equal to 13 degrees. Okay, so we did it right. Okay, so you guys will complete the you do example number 2. Let's look at example 3. Okay, again, I have a pair of vertical angles. This angle that's 110 degrees and this angle that is equal to 10x plus 40 degrees are vertical angles. I first got to figure out what x is equal to. So I got to plug in my first angle in this first text box right here. Again, I always start with the angle that has the variable in it. So this is 10x plus 40. Okay, and my second angle is equal to 110 degrees, so I'm going to plug in 110 there. Okay, now I'm simply going to solve this equation. Well, my next step is to subtract the constant from both sides. My constant is 40, so I'm subtracting 40 on both sides of this equation. Okay, I'm bringing down the 10x. Okay, the 40s are going to cancel each other out. 110 minus 40 is 70. Okay, now I'm up to step 3. Divide both sides by the number in front of the variable. So I'm dividing both sides of my equation by 10. 10x divided by 10 is x, and 70 divided by 10 is 7. So we get x is equal to 7. Okay, again, I'm not done because I did not find the measure of this missing angle here. I only found the value of x. So now I have to take that angle measure, which is 10x plus 40, and plug in 7 where I see x. Okay? So I first have to multiply 10 times 7, which is 70, and then 70 plus 40, which gives us 110. So I know the measure of that missing angle up here, angle AOB, is equal to 110 degrees. And again, I know I'm correct because its vertical angle was also equal to 110 degrees. They must be equal to each other, which they are. Okay, you guys are going to do you do example 4. We'll do one more model example. Here we have two vertical angles again. So I want to figure out the measure, or first the value of x, excuse me. So I'm going to plug in my first angle into this first text box, which is 7x minus 4. All right. And my next angle, or my second angle, is equal to 87 degrees. So I plug in that 87 under where it says angle 2. Now I have to solve. So since I had a subtraction sign in my original equation, I got to do the opposite of subtraction, which is adding. So I'm adding 4 to both sides of this equation. Okay. I'm going to bring down the 7x. The 4's are going to cancel each other out. Then I have to add 87 plus 4, which gives me 91. Okay. Now I have to divide both sides by the number in front of the variable. Well, that is x, or I'm sorry, that is 7. So I'm dividing both sides of my equation by 7. 7x divided by 7 is simply x, and 91 divided by 7 is 13. Okay, so I get x is equal to 13, which is perfect. Okay, but now I got to take that value of x and plug it into my angle measure here to determine what the actual degree is. Because it's not 13 degrees, we just know x is equal to 13. So now instead of writing x, I'm going to plug in the number 13, and I'm going to simplify this. 7 times 13 is 91, and then I have to subtract 4, and 91 minus 4 is 87. So I know that this angle, MON, must be equal to 87 degrees. And again, that makes sense because we knew that its vertical angle was also equal to 87 degrees. Okay, we'll actually do one more model example together. All right, so again, we got vertical angles. I'm going to plug in my first angle over here, which is 11x plus 9. And my second angle is 53 degrees. Now, right off the bat, I know that this angle is going to have to equal 53 degrees. But before we can write that, we got to solve to see what x is equal to. Okay, so we're subtracting 9 on both sides of the equation. Bring down that 11x. Okay, the 9's are going to cancel each other out. 53 minus 9 is 44. Now I'm dividing by the number in front of the variable. I'm dividing both sides by 11. And now I simply have to divide 44 divided by 11, which gives us 4. So we know x is equal to 4. Okay, now I got to actually figure out what is the measure of this angle here. So I'm taking that 4, I'm taking that 4 and plugging it into the angle measure where I see x. Okay, so 11 times 4 is 44, and 44 plus 9 gives us 53. So I know the measure of that missing angle must be equal to 53 degrees. All right. Okay, ladies and gents, so as you can see, we set this up pretty much the same like complementary and supplementary angles. The only difference is now both angles are on opposite sides of the equal sign. Okay, so you guys are now going to go back and do all the you do examples. If you're stuck on a you do example, please refer to the model example that comes right before it. Okay, because that will help you. If you guys have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask.